Hello, and welcome to the first episode of a potentially ongoing series from Year Player 2 called Twist, which is short for This Week in Steam. And I'm calling this a test episode because I want to gauge if this format adds value for you before deciding to make it a regular thing. But if or when these episodes show up, you can expect three things in particular. First would be Steam News, where I just provide some quick updates on what's happening in the world of Steam and the Steam Deck. Next would be Steam Deals, including both Steam Store discounts and my shameless affiliate link plugs for places like Fanatical or Humble. And then finally something fun on the back end, like a community segment, channel updates, or even random free Steam keys like these. Basically, if you want the news and deals, you can get those up front, and then you can just dip out if you're busy. But if you do stick around, you get the mullet experience, where essentially I've adopted a business up front, party in the back philosophy. And my primary goal here really is to provide value for both of us. For you, I want to provide faster, more timely, semi-regular updates with minimal fluff, and then for me, I just wanted to try out a format that's lower lift, and by extension, lower stress, which helps keep content flowing. And let's be honest, probably a few extra burritos as I test the waters with affiliate links beyond Amazon. And now that we've taken a look at what Twist is and what this format represents, let's go ahead and jump into this week's Steam news. And right out of the gate, we did see some restocks on refurbished Steam Decks from Valve, and that would be for both the LCD and the OLED models. Now, unfortunately, these did sell out pretty quickly, but it's still worth keeping an eye on their refurbished store page if you want to try to save some dough on some new hardware. Because the cost savings can be pretty great here. For the 1TB OLED model, you'll shell out $649 for a new OLED Steam Deck. However, if you pick one up refurb, it's only going to be $519. And when it comes to the 512GB version, normally these are $549 brand new, but you can pick them up refurb for about $439. And personally, I'm a big believer in refurbished products because they do tend to undergo a pretty rigorous inspection process, and every time I bought a refurbished device, it's been just as good as any new experience that I've had. Now, granted, that's still pretty subjective, but it's still food for thought if you're like me and want to pull the trigger on the OLED version of the Steam Deck, but you're waiting for the right price before you put your LCD model out to pasture. Next up, we did have a minor update release for the Steam Deck beta client, which dropped on February 19th. Now, this was a minor update with no major changes, save for fixing an issue with an unintentional redirect that would take you to a game's demo store page instead of its full-blown game store page, and it also resolved an input issue after disconnecting an external controller where the Steam Deck's controller would get stuck in a non-primary controller slot. So it's nothing particularly riveting, but if you were one of the unlucky few struggling with why your controller kept getting swapped to the secondary position, this might be worth noting. Next up, if you're curious what's hot on Steam right now, let's take a quick look at the top sellers and most played games this week. Looking at the top sellers of the moment, we've got Monster Hunter Wilds in the top spot, with Marvel Rivals, Counter-Strike 2, and the Steam Deck itself not far behind. Now, for the most played games overall right now on Steam, we've got Counter-Strike 2 at number 1, followed by PUBG, Dota 2, and Marvel Rivals still hanging in there at number 5. And perhaps unsurprisingly, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is still hanging tough with around 150,000 players, which makes sense given how much people are raving about it. However, for the most played games on the Steam Deck specifically, we've got Balatro, which I still need to play unfortunately, Stardew Valley, Baldur's Gate 3, Elden Ring, and a big jump up for Hades 2, which I'm sure is fantastic, but I still haven't finished the original, so it could be years before I get to know for myself, but I digress. But next, let's move on to some deals that are going on at Fanatical right now, specifically looking at a couple of bundles that they're running that have some really great savings. First up, they have the Prestige Collection bundle that has some pretty decent offerings. Personally, I went for Tomb Raider 1, 2, and 3 Remastered, and then I also bought Super Monkey Ball Banana Blitz, the latter of which I actually already have, so here's a free copy to whoever's quick enough to redeem it on Steam. Tomb Raider is normally $29.99, but after getting it in a 2-game bundle like this, it ended up being about $7.50, which is a nice savings if you're looking to revisit Lara's early years. And beyond the Prestige Collection, they also have a bundle for Capcom games right now, with everything from Phoenix Wright to Devil May Cry, Resident Evil, Street Fighter, so if you're looking to fill some gaps in your Capcom library, this is a good way to do it. Although to be fair, Capcom games do seem to go on sale pretty regularly, so if you miss it, it's probably not a huge deal, but just like the Prestige Collection bundle, it has a similar pricing structure, where the more you buy, the more you save, as every game you select starts at $650 for 2, $633 for 3, and $625 if you decide to go for 4 or more titles. And finally, while there are plenty of other games on sale on Fanatical right now, I did specifically want to highlight Like a Dragon, Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii, since that just dropped, and not to spoil the next segment, but it does play pretty well on the Steam Deck and has been a lot of fun so far. And I've dropped direct affiliate links to the 2 bundles that I've just mentioned, as well as Pirate Yakuza below in the description, so if you do choose to buy some games through that link, I'll make a little scratch off that at no additional cost to you, so thank you in advance if you choose to take the leap on any Fanatical purchases today. And on that note, let's go ahead and transition to the party portion of this video mullet by taking a look at the Like a Dragon Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii demo, which you can check out right now if you like what you see here. And I have to say, I was a little bit hesitant to check this game out at all because there have been a ton of Yakuza games, but this Like a Dragon spin-off sort of sub-series of the main Yakuza titles seems like a pretty fun way to get familiar with the series in a low-pressure way, and I think you can have a really good time with it even if you're not super familiar with that series. I know that's certainly been the case for me. While I've put in, I think, about 10 to 12 hours on Yakuza 0, I haven't beat a single Yakuza game myself, let alone every game in that series, because I think there's like 7 or 8 of them at this point. But nonetheless, having now spent some time with the Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii demo, I have to say this was a really good time. The combat's really fast and fluid, and it sort of feels like a 3D version of a 2D side-scrolling beat-em-up, and it does throw you right into the thick of the mechanics right away, so there's just a ton going on, and yet despite the fact that there's so much that you can do and 2 different combat styles that you can indulge immediately, it all comes off really naturally, and in no time at all I was just absolutely decimating whatever thugs the game threw my way, and I was really glad to see that despite the fact that I had not a ton of familiarity with the series, that it didn't stop me from jumping in and having a really good time with it immediately. Also, I should point out that out of the box I decided to stick with the default settings, and that would be a 1280 by 720p resolution with the graphics preset set to medium. And I'm happy to report that most of the time it stayed really close to 60 frames per second. It wasn't a flat 60 or anything like that, but it was smooth enough that you could almost certainly lock this down to a 40Hz refresh rate on your Steam Deck and a 40 FPS lock, and in turn have a relatively smooth experience. But again, that demo is available right now if you want to download it and check it out for yourself. And beyond just experiencing the combat of Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii, you can also spend some time doing karaoke or just explore the environment a little bit. And I have to say, I really do love open worlds in this vein because it's not a massive open world like Grand Theft Auto, rather it's a more condensed, medium-sized open world that really relies on a lot of density and a lot of activities and things to pick up and find and exploration rather than raw geographical area. Now that doesn't detract from it in any way, but it is something worth mentioning if you're somebody who's sort of new to the Yakuza series, like, well, I am, because I'm still relatively new to this series, but rest assured that even though it's a more condensed experience, you still will have a lot of fun things to try out and test and do in this demo, although I will say there isn't any seafaring battles happening in this demo, and also another thing that kind of bummed me out is it does kind of throw you right into the thick of things, so you're not going to have a situation here where your save data from the demo is going to carry over into the main game. But if you're already a Yakuza fan and just want a nice vertical slice to see if it's going to give you the same thing you would expect from that series, I'm sure it's going to deliver, and if you're entirely new to it, this should give you a really good idea of what to expect from the gameplay if you decide to jump in and make that purchase. Alright, and that's about it for the inaugural test of Twist, which again isn't necessarily a weekly format, but it may grow into that. And hey, since this is the first episode of Twist, I would love to hear your thoughts, considering my goal here is to bring you value first. So what do you think of the format? What do you think could make it better? Are there any specific topics or segments that you'd want to see in future iterations of these videos? If so, please do let me know in the comments below. As far as what's coming up on the channel, I will be going through a range of other demos for the Steam Deck here in a list style video in a couple of weeks, and then on Wednesday we'll be looking at 10 new Steam releases coming in March, so stay tuned for that. As always, thank you so much for your time and hanging out here with me on the channel. It means a ton to me. Have a tremendous day, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.